my beer tastes like moss. They call me moss beer.
I'm down here. I'm in here. Greetings, programs. It's Hanker and Fernell down here, having a beer and stooping to get in the frame, because we're about to do another episode of Yep. I set up this angle so I hope you can see the room a little better, but it doesn't leave a lot of room for my ugly mug. So let's get right to it. After the players left the Underdark through the rift, they all aged 8 years in a matter of seconds and emerged in the care of the Weathercote elves. Weathercote Woods is out on the eastern side of the Grey Peaks and the Sword Coast. The elves warned the players that bush so close. Warned the players that their protection only extended out to a place called Edgewood. So they were safe until then, but this board represents when the players reached Edgewood, their goal being to get out of here and head for the nearest town. Now legend has it, or word, rumor you might say, that the Frozen Army is seeking out the heroes now that they've escaped the Underdark. There's a price on their heads. But if you remember, 95 years have passed since they fell into the Underdark. The army is grown tremendously and the world is in an era of sorrow and tyranny. So they have to be aware and wary, and as the sun is setting they emerge onto this old elven ruin at the edge of the forest. So I'm going to stop stooping and get my little stick. Where I come from, this is called a little stick. It's actually a giant steak knife. Basically, here's how it went down in Weathercote Woods at Edgewood. The players entered from this corner of the board over here, and I'm using bushes and trees to create a divider. I like to have little introduction corridors so that while the players are entering a space, there's at least 2 or 3 areas or a third of the board that's obscured from their view. Now they have to use their imaginations, of course, because I'm not going to put a black blanket over this side of the board or anything, but it helps set the tone for the battle. So when they enter, I roll the 1d4 suspense dice and the clock starts ticking. So there's a few elements at play in this board. One, when the suspense dice counts down, if you see right over here, there are 1d6 displacer beasts that are hunting in a pack at dusk. They come bursting through the bushes and over this fallen tree here and will basically attack any living creature in the area. Now, not only for suspense dice did I roll on the appearance of the displacer beasts, but also over here there are a small troop of frozen warriors in the service of the evil army who are patrolling the woods, hoping to find the heroes as they escape the Underdark. So these guys I rolled very high on, so they're actually a ways off on the trail, so we can remove them for right now. But their campfire was still right here. So as the players rounded the first bend here, they noticed the campfire and knew that the guards were somewhere nearby, because they know they're hunted. But there was also this strange elven ruin, and of course our wizard had to take a closer look as he started to discover strange writing in the etchings. Now the writing was basically about some world backstory as well as some spell capabilities. If you remember, when our characters left the Underdark, they completely lost all magic ability, lost all spell casting as well as cleric magic. So they are desperately seeking any way to relearn their magical abilities. So the group had actually spread out quite a bit more. Even had one character over here by this fallen log before the displacer beasts came crashing in and attacking. Right as they did so, the group went to reform. So everybody knows that when you're attacked by displacer beasts or wolves or any kind of beast, that you want to get up on some rocks and chop down at them and get advantage that way. So the displacer beasts are coming up, they start blinking from side to side, whipping tentacles. These things are brutal. You know, displacer beasts have been around forever, but they are still very formidable monsters. So the battle started getting really sassy right over here, which was interesting because this is exactly where the troops are going to return from their hike. So the troops show up from their patrol right here. Here, I'll remove this stone, maybe you can see a little better. And they're like, "Wah! But the players are used to getting attacked by everything they see. They've been in the Underdark for weeks. So they didn't know like friend or foe, but right away these humans fight right alongside them to vanquish all the Displacer beasts. Now in the meantime, all but one of them are killed in the fight. That's how nasty the Displacer beasts got. Like, they're just tearing people to shreds. So the survivor was the captain of the troop named Captain Rel. Now this opened up an interesting part of the room. The players decided maybe these weren't foes after all. They had just been helped. Probably would have been utterly defeated if it weren't for the help of the frozen troops. So our wizard was over here investigating the elven ruins, and then eventually his eye was caught by some recently disturbed rubble in this area of the stone wall. And as he was investigating, the rest of the party started befriending Captain Rel. Not so much befriending as negotiating with him. They're basically saying, we don't have to fight each other. Why don't you just let us go? And Captain Rel said, well, I'm in the service of the Frozen King. He watches my every move. He has my family in the salt mines. If I defy him, then not only will I die, but they'll be tortured to death. Like, I have to fight you. I don't want to fight you, but I have to. Now this is a great moment our wizard used. He got what would seem like a useless item called Cloak of Message, which allows some covert communication. Generally not that useful, except in like role-playing situations, which this was a great one. So he used the Cloak of Message to communicate with Captain Rel in secret. The Frozen King couldn't hear what they were saying back and forth. So Captain Rel actually divulged some information about the army, about Lork, the town that they're traveling to, and the plans of the army and the overall political situation. So that was a handy chance to get my players in the loop of what the world 95 years in the future is all about. Simultaneously, he said the minute that we come out of the Cloak of Message mode, the Frozen King's gonna know that I'm not just trying to kill you, and he's gonna go kill my family. So we have to fight. Now, it would be nice if you didn't have to kill me. This was one of the first times that my players did not kill everybody. So they got a little fight with him, they bonk and knocked him unconscious, took his armor and sort of left him there, seemingly safe, but abandoned. Meanwhile, the group came back here, realized that this stone here on the edge, if you can see that far, was teetering. So, as I hoped they would do, they got one of these logs that's laying around, got it wedged under the stone, pried it over, and revealed an opening in the stone wall, which gave them passage out of Weathercote Woods. So they moved out onto the crossroads and heading up toward the Black Road, Dawn Pass, and eventually Lork itself. So they also earned a bunch of bonus XP for not killing Captain Rel. And frankly, they role-played the whole thing fantastic. Also, you guys may have seen it on the Facebook page, but as we were playing this room, the sun was setting outside and there were crazy sunbeams actually coming through our kitchen onto our gaming table and illuminating Edgewood with actual sunlight. So the whole thing was just fantastic encounter, and I really can't recommend Displacer Beasts enough as an awesome enemy for your group, regardless of their level. Always make one of your Displacer Beasts an alpha, so he has 50% more or even double the hit points of the others and does a little more damage. That gives the players a little bit of a choice rather than just wading through the enemies.
That's room design.
For the place called Edgewood, really simple room and really simple enemy choice, but every once in a while, that simplicity, it just really comes together. I think another thing that was key about this board is that I had my players stripped of magical ability. I had players back in that raw moment of fear where you're teetering on the edge and you have no heals, and that is really where the game is the most exciting. And I'll tell you, even though this is an episode of Room Design, it's actually an interesting case study in how great the game can be when it's kept simple. And I recommend that you find ways to keep your players in a simple mindset. So as they get more powerful, especially above like 5th and 6th level, it gets very difficult to properly nerf them without it feeling like endless punishment. So you need to kind of let them be powerful, but at the same time, the game is a lot more fun when it's simple. So get out your Displacer Beasts, describe the awesome ways in which they blink from side to side and they vibrate and are difficult to locate, and have fun with their disadvantage rules. And it's always cool to have logs. I kind of expected the players would maybe tip a tree over and light it on fire. You know how fire is in D&D. It's like everybody wants to light everything on fire. And then always fun to break up your forests with just a little bit of ruins. And it's kind of implicit that they're elven, and there's something interesting about them. Something intriguing about ruins that are overgrown by greenery that always captures the players and gets them thinking something's going on. So that is this little episode. This is Edgewood, and if you're looking in making some of the pieces for your own woodland boards, I'm just using moss on these guys. One really good pro tip: if you're making cool trees, load up your styrene base with pennies. So I just make a bunch of slot cuts and jam pennies in here. This has like 6 pennies in the bottom, and it makes them stand really good, and they don't want to tip over. Really good tip, because when your board is always falling over and falling apart, it can be pretty damn annoying. So try weighting some of your plant miniatures, because they're very lightweight. They're not like the stones where there's a pretty good mass to it. These things weigh like nothing. As you can see, they're kind of tumbling and stuff. And then how did I make these? These are just styrene bases with toothpicks stuck in for supports, and then I just basically freeform glued a bunch of green stuff on there. One of my big inspirations for making my woodland pieces was Armacrog. Those guys basically just take entire bags of moss and just glue it to a piece of cardboard to make a wall of greenery. It's really cool. They just load it up. So I like that a lot. I also use a larger log to induce a dex check barrier. Get people to fall down, get people stuck, get people to hide behind things. And then, again, high ground. Always give your people... High ground is the most fundamental and easy way to get advantage on your enemies. So give it a try. Nice, simple board, but hey, it still worked great, because that's how you do rune design like a big old badass. This is Hankering Fernale, Drunkards and Dragons. Hit that like button and get your friends and neighbors to subscribe, because we are going places this year. We're having fun doing it. Strength, honor, and beer.